Captain Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars through the large window. His hands were behind his back, and his face looked worried. The Taegukgi was the biggest and strongest ship in Earth's fleet. Today, it carried the hopes of all humanity. "Sir, we're getting close to the council station," said Han Yu-jin. The young pilot was sitting at his control panel, his fingers moving quickly over the buttons. He had been flying ships for only 3 years. But Kim Dae-ho trusted him completely. "Good. Dr. Park, are you ready?" Kim Dae-ho turned to look at the woman standing beside him. Dr. Park So-young was Earth's best scientist and diplomat. She knew more about alien species than anyone else on Earth. "As ready as I can be," she said. Her voice was calm, but Kim Dae-ho could see the worry in her eyes. "The data we collected shows that 12 different alien species are voting against us. That's more than half the council." Kim Dae-ho nodded slowly. For 200 years, humans had been part of the Galactic Council. They had traded with other species, shared technology, and helped keep peace in the galaxy. But now, everything was changing. The council station appeared in front of them. It was huge, like a small city floating in space. Ships from many different worlds were docked around it. Some looked like giant insects, others like smooth metal eggs, and a few looked almost normal to human eyes. "Take us to Docking Bay 7, Kim Dae-ho told Han Yu-jin. "Yes, sir." As they flew closer, Dr. Park So-young looked at her notes one more. Time. "The main problem is our expansion rate," she said. "In the last 50 years, humans have built colonies on 147 new worlds. The other species think we're growing too fast, and they're afraid of us," Kim Dae-ho added. "They don't understand humans. We adapt quickly, we invent new things, and we don't follow their old rules about who can do what." The ship docked with a soft bump. Kim Dae-ho and Dr. Park So-young walked through the metal hallways of the station. The air smelled strange, like flowers mixed with machine oil. Other aliens passed by them. Some nodded politely, but most looked away. They entered the council chamber. It was a huge round room with seats arranged in circles. Each species had their own section. The humans sat in a small area near the back. Kim Dae-ho counted the seats. Only 43 species supported Earth. 68 were against them. High Consul Kixtal stood up. He was a Veltharian, which meant he looked like a tall, thin person covered in silver scales. His voice was high and sharp. "The Council has decided humans are too dangerous to remain part of our civilization." Dr. Park So-young stood up. "Honored Consul, we came here to talk about this problem. Humans have always followed Council laws. We have helped keep peace between species. We have shared our medical knowledge and our technology." "Your technology is the problem," said Trade Minister Vexmore. He was a Zephyrian, with gray skin and large black eyes. "Humans learn too fast. You invent things that change how the galaxy works. This makes other species feel unsafe." "But that's how progress happens," Dr. Park So-young said. "When we work together, everyone benefits. Our medical research has saved millions of lives across 50 different worlds. Our farming techniques have ended hunger on 20 planets." Kixtal made a noise that sounded like metal scraping. "You do not understand. The galaxy has had peace for 800 years because every species knows their place. Veltharians handle diplomacy. Zephyrians manage trade. The Krillian hive provides security. Humans do everything. This breaks the natural order." Kim Dae-ho felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "We do what we do because we want to help. When the Altarian plague threatened to kill their entire species, human doctors worked for 3 years to find a cure. When the trade routes to the Outer Rim were attacked by pirates, human ships restored order. We don't do these things to gain power. We do them because they need to be done." "That is exactly the problem," Vexmore said. Humans think they can fix everything. But the galaxy does not need fixing. It needs order. The debate continued for 6 hours. Species after species stood up to speak. Some supported Earth, talking about the good things humans had done. But more spoke against them, saying humans were too unpredictable, too aggressive, too different. Finally, Kixtal called for the final vote. Red lights appeared above the seats of species voting to exile Earth. Green lights showed those voting to let humans stay. Kim Dae-ho watched as the lights appeared one by one. Red, red, green, red, red, green, red. When it was over, 71 species had voted to exile Earth. Only 40 had voted for humans to stay. The decision is made, Kixtal announced. Earth and all human colonies must withdraw to their home solar system within 30 days. After that, a barrier will prevent any human ship from leaving the Sol system. This is final. Dr. Park So-young tried one more time. Please reconsider. If humans leave the galaxy, who will maintain the deep space monitoring stations? Who will patrol the trade routes? Who will respond when new threats appear? The Council will manage, Vexmore said, but he didn't sound very sure. Kim Dae-ho and Dr. Park So-young returned to their ship in silence. Han Yu-jin was waiting for them with news from Earth. Admiral Lee Jun-ki had sent orders for all human ships to return home immediately. What happens now? Han Yu-jin asked as they flew away from the council station. Kim Dae-ho looked out at the stars. Now we go home. But this isn't over. They think they're getting rid of a problem, but they're making a bigger mistake than they know. Over the next 30 days, human ships returned to Earth from across the galaxy. Colonies that had been growing for decades were abandoned. Research stations were shut down. Trade agreements were canceled. But Admiral Lee Jun-ki had a secret plan. While most ships returned to Earth openly, others disappeared into the dark spaces between stars. On the final day, Kim Dae-ho watched as the Council fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. 12 different types of ships formed a ring around the sun. Then they activated the barrier. An invisible wall of energy now trapped Earth and all its people inside their own solar system. The Council members celebrated their victory. They divided up the former human territories among themselves. They believed they had solved their problem. They had no idea how wrong they were. Back on Earth, Dr. Park So-young was already working with Dr. Choi Min-ho on new research projects. Admiral Lee Jun-ki was planning something big, and in the darkness between stars, hidden human ships were already beginning their secret work. The Council thought they had caged humanity. Instead, they had given them the greatest gift possible, a reason to become stronger than anyone had ever imagined. 5 years had passed since the barrier trapped Earth inside the solar system. Dr. Choi Min-ho wiped sweat from his forehead as he watched the test results on his screen. The numbers were impossible, but they were real. It works, he whispered to himself. Then louder. It actually works! Dr. Park So-young hurried over to his workstation. Around them, the underground laboratory buzzed with activity. Hundreds of scientists worked day and night on projects that would have seemed like magic just 5 years ago. Show me, Park So-young said. Choi Min-ho pointed at the screen. The quantum field manipulation is stable. We can bend space itself. This means we can travel faster than light without using the old jump gates that the Council controls. Park So-young smiled for the first time in months. How fast can we go? At least twice as fast as any Council ship. Maybe 3 times faster. Choi Min-ho's hands shook with excitement. And that's not the best part. The energy we need is much less than their old technology requires. Across the city, Commander Song Hai-rim read reports from her secret network. She sat in a small office hidden beneath the streets of Seoul. On her desk were messages from human agents scattered across the galaxy. Park Tae-sung, come look at this, she called. Park Tae-sung walked over. He was the head of Earth's spy network, and he looked tired. For 5 years, he had been collecting information from agents who had stayed behind when humans were exiled. What now? Do you have? He asked. 3 different reports, all saying the same thing. The council is having serious problems. Song Hyarim pointed to her screen. Trade routes are failing. Pirate attacks have increased by 400%. And look at this. The Veltharians and Zephyrians are fighting over who controls the former human territories. Park Tae-sung read the reports carefully. Our agents inside the Krillian Hive report that their military is stretched too thin. They used to rely on human patrol ships to help protect the outer colonies. Now they can't cover everything. It's worse than they thought it would be, Song Hyarim said. Humans weren't just another species in the council. We were doing most of the real work. Meanwhile, on a hidden asteroid base near Jupiter, Captain Kim Dae-ho watched workers build something that had never existed before. The ship was long and sleek, covered in black metal that seemed to absorb light. It didn't look like any human ship ever built. Admiral Lee Jun-ki stood beside him. How many can we build? With our current resources, maybe 20, Kim Dae-ho replied. But each one will be worth 50 of their old ships. The new weapons systems? Dr. Lim Hae-jin says they're ready for testing. The energy shields can stop anything the council has. And our weapons? Kim Dae-ho paused. Let's just say they'll be very surprised. Han Yu-jin, now older and more experienced, approached them. Sir, I've been training pilots for the new ships. They handle completely different from anything we've flown before. Good different or bad different? Admiral Lee asked. Incredible different. The response time is instant. The speed is amazing. And with Dr. Choi's new engines, we can appear anywhere in the galaxy before they know we're coming. Far across the galaxy, on a world the Council had never discovered, Kang So-ra stood before a group of tall, graceful beings. They looked almost like humans, but their skin glowed softly with inner light. These were the Etherians, a peaceful species that had avoided contact with the Council for centuries. Your people interest us, said the Etherian leader, whose name sounded like wind through trees. We have watched the galaxy for many years. Most species seek only power and control. But humans seek understanding. Kang So-ra had arrived on this world 6 months ago. Her ship was one of the secret vessels that had escaped before the blockade. She had been exploring the far edge of the galaxy, looking for new allies. We don't want to rule anyone, she said. We just want to be free to explore and learn and help where we can. This is why we will share our knowledge with you, the Etherian said. We have defensive technology that can protect entire star systems. We also know of other species that live beyond Council space, species that might welcome human friendship. Back in the Sol system, life continued, but it was different now. Without trade with other worlds, humans had to become completely self-sufficient. But instead of making them weaker, this made them stronger. New cities were built on Mars and the moons of Jupiter. Asteroid mining operations provided unlimited resources. Most importantly, all of humanity was working together for the first time in centuries. Dr. Park So-young finished her latest experiment. Using alien genetic samples they had collected before the exile, she had developed new medical treatments. Humans could now live longer, heal faster, and survive in environments that would have killed them before. The Council thinks they trapped us, she told her research team. But they gave us the greatest gift possible. Time to grow without interference. On Earth, Park Tae-sung received his most important report yet. His best agent, working inside the Zephyrian Trade Ministry, had discovered something alarming. The Council is planning to divide our former territories permanently, the message said. But there's more. Some species are secretly building military fleets. They're planning to attack each other once they think they're strong enough. Park Tae-sung immediately sent this information to Admiral Lee Jun-ki. Within hours, it was shared. with all human leaders. They're going to start a war, Admiral Lee said during an emergency meeting. Without humans keeping the peace, old enemies are preparing to settle old scores. Captain Kim Dae-ho looked at the intelligence reports. How long do we have? Maybe 2 years before the first major conflict starts, Park Tae-sung replied. The Veltharians are already moving ships towards Zephyrian space, and the Krillian hive is expanding into systems they've wanted for decades. Dr. Choi Min-ho spoke up. Our new ships will be ready in 18 months. The quantum engines are working perfectly, and we've solved the power problems. What about weapons? Admiral Lee asked. Dr. Lim Hae-jin answered. The new energy cannons can penetrate any known shield technology. We've also developed something special, weapons that disable ships without destroying them. We can stop a fight without killing everyone. Commander Song Hae-rim had been quiet during the meeting. Now she spoke. My agents report that many younger aliens are questioning their leaders. They remember when humans were part of the council. They remember how much better things were. Are you saying some of them want us back? Kim Dae-ho asked. More than some. Maybe half the species in the council are having second thoughts about the exile, but their leaders are too proud to admit they made a mistake. Admiral Lee Jun-ki stood up. Then we need to be ready. When the galaxy starts falling apart, humans will be there to help put it back together. But this time, we'll do it our way. The meeting ended, and everyone returned to their work. Across the solar system, humans prepared for their return to the galaxy. They built new ships, developed new technologies, and trained new crews. But most importantly, they planned for peace, not war. The Council had exiled Earth to protect their old way of life. Instead, they had created something new and much more powerful. Humanity was about to return to the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same. High Consul Kickstal stared at the reports on his desk with growing horror. The numbers were worse than last month, and last month had been the worst in Veltharian history. Trade income had dropped by 60%. 12 major shipping routes were now too dangerous to use because of pirate attacks. 3 council species had stopped paying their membership fees. Trade Minister Vexmore entered his office without knocking. The Zephyrian looked angry and worried. We have another problem. The Krillian hive just took control of the Nexus 7 system. That's Zephyrian territory, Kickstal said. Was Zephyrian territory. The hive says they need it for security reasons. My people are demanding that I send warships to take it back. Kickstal rubbed his scaled forehead. If you attack the hive, other species will think they can take territory too. But if you do nothing, you look weak. This wouldn't have happened when the humans were here, Vexmore said quietly. They would have arranged a meeting, found a solution that everyone could accept. Both leaders sat in uncomfortable silence. Neither wanted to admit that exiling Earth had been a mistake, but the evidence was getting harder to ignore. Far across the galaxy, Kang So-ra walked through the crystal gardens of the Etherian homeworld. The beautiful glowing beings had become humanity's first true allies in centuries. Around her, Etherian children played games that looked like dancing light. Your species learns quickly, said Wise Singer of Dawn, the Etherian leader. In just 6 months, you understand our defensive technology better than species who have studied it for decades. We're good at adapting, Kang So-ra replied. It's what we do best. This is why we trust you. The council species come to us with demands and threats. Humans come with curiosity and respect. Wise Singer of Dawn touched a crystal tree, and it glowed brighter. We have decided to reveal ourselves to the galaxy. We will tell them that humanity is our chosen partner. Kang So-ra felt excitement and worry at the same time. That will make the council very angry. Good. It is time for change. On Earth, Dr. Lim Hae-jin watched the final test of humanity's new weapons. The target was an old asteroid mining station. When she pressed the button, a beam of pure energy struck the station. Instead of exploding, The station simply stopped working. All its systems shut down, but the structure remained intact. "Perfect," she said. "No deaths, no destruction, but complete neutralization." Admiral Lee Jun-ki stood beside her. "How does it work?" "The beam disrupts all electronic systems without damaging anything else. We can stop an entire fleet without killing anyone. Then we can board their ships and talk to them." The Council won't expect this. Their weapons are designed to destroy enemies, not disable them. Dr. Lim Hae-jin nodded. "That's the difference between their way of thinking and ours. They see every problem as something to eliminate. We see every problem as something to solve." Meanwhile, Park Tae-sung received the most important intelligence report of his career. His best agent inside the Council had discovered secret meeting records. The message was short but alarming. Emergency Council session planned. Topic: Military alliance against growing threats. Several species bringing warships to Council space. Estimate: major conflict within 6 months. Park Tae-sung immediately sent this information to all human leaders. Within hours, emergency meetings were happening across the solar system. In the asteroid belt, Captain Kim Dae-ho looked at the new human fleet. 20 ships, each one more, advanced than anything the Council had ever seen. They were painted dark gray, almost invisible against the stars. "Are we ready?" Admiral Lee Jun-ki asked. "The ships are ready. The crews are trained. Dr. Choi's quantum engines work perfectly," Kim Dae-ho replied. "But sir, once we leave the solar system, there's no going back. The Council will know we broke through their barrier. Then we better make sure our first move is the right one." On the Council homeworld, the emergency session began badly and got worse. Species that had been allies for centuries were now shouting accusations at each other. The Veltharians accused the Zephyrians of stealing trade routes. The Zephyrians accused the Krillian hive of military aggression. The hive accused everyone else of weakness. "Order! Order!" Kixtal banged his staff on the floor, but no one listened. A Manthari delegate stood up. The insect-like being clicked its mandibles angrily. "The Outer Rim colonies are being attacked every day. Where are the patrol ships that used to protect us?" "The Council will provide protection," Vexmore said, but his voice lacked confidence. "With what ships? Your merchant vessels? Our science? Ships?" The Manthari clicked louder. "We need real warships, real soldiers, real protection. The kind humans used to provide. The humans were exiled for good reasons," Kixtal said quickly. "What reasons?" Another delegate spoke up. This was a young Altarian, her blue skin marked with the patterns of her rank. "I was a child when humans saved my world from the plague. They asked for nothing in return. They just helped because we needed help." More voices joined in. Species that had been quiet during the exile vote now spoke openly about their regrets. The younger delegates were especially angry with their leaders. "My people are dying because trade ships can't get through safely," said a Karani representative. "Human patrol fleets used to keep the space lanes clear. Now pirates attack whatever they want." "The Council will adapt," Kixtal insisted. "When?" the Karani asked. "How many more of my people have to die while the Council adapts?" The meeting broke up with nothing solved. Worse, 3 species announced they were withdrawing from the Council completely. They would handle their own defense from now on. Back on Earth, Dr. Park So-young completed her analysis of the intelligence reports. The picture was clear and frightening. "The galaxy is falling apart," she told the emergency leadership meeting. "What took 800 years to build is collapsing in just 5 years. "Can we stop it?" Admiral Lee asked. "Maybe. But not if we stay hidden. The Council species need to see that humans are back. They need hope that things can get better. Commander Song Hai Rim had more bad news. My agents report that at least 6 species are secretly building invasion fleets. They're planning to attack their neighbors before someone attacks them." "A preemptive war," Captain Kim Dae-ho said. Everyone attacks first because they're afraid of being attacked. How long do we have? Admiral Lee asked. 3 months, maybe 4, Park Tae-sung replied. After that, the shooting starts. Dr. Choi Min-ho spoke up. The quantum drive tests are complete. We can reach any system in the galaxy faster than any Council ship can send a warning message. What about our hidden colonies? Admiral Lee asked. All 23 colonies are ready, Kang So-ra reported via communication link from Etherian space. We have allies, resources, and safe bases throughout the outer galaxy. Admiral Lee Jun-ki stood up. Everyone in the room looked at him. The decision he made in the next few minutes would change galactic history. The Council exiled us to protect their old way of life, he said slowly. But their old way is dying whether we're there or not. The question is, do we let the galaxy burn, or do we try to save it? If we intervene, they'll call us invaders, Dr. Park So-young warned. Some will, but others will call us saviors. Admiral Lee looked around the room. Prepare the fleet. It's time for humanity to return to the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as peacekeepers. The meeting ended, and preparations began immediately. In just a few weeks, human ships would break through the Council's barrier for the first time in 5 years. The galaxy was about to discover that exiling Earth had been the biggest mistake in its history. Captain Bae Jin-woo gripped the controls of his stealth ship as it slipped through the quantum barrier like a knife through paper. Behind him, 19 other human vessels followed in perfect silence. The Council's great wall that had trapped Earth for 5 years was useless against Dr. Choi Min-ho's new technology. "We're through," whispered his communications officer. "No alarms. They don't even know we're here." Bae Jin-woo smiled. The Council had spent so much energy building their barrier that they never imagined anyone could simply walk through it. Set course for the Nexus 7 system. Intelligence reports say the fighting there is getting worse. Meanwhile, on the Council homeworld, emergency sirens were blaring. High Consul Kixtal rushed into the command center where panicked officers were pointing at their screens. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Krillian hive ships are attacking Zephyrian colonies," reported a young officer. "The Zephyrians have sent their entire battle fleet to respond. It's a full war, sir." Trade Minister Vexmore arrived, breathing heavily. "My people are calling for your head, Kixtal. They say you should have stopped this before it started." "How?" "The hive wouldn't listen to reason. Because you have no real power anymore," Vexmore shouted. "When humans were in the Council, other species respected our authority. They knew humans would enforce any peace agreement. Now everyone knows we're just talking with no strength behind our words." At that moment, another officer called out, "Sir, we're getting strange reports from the Nexus 7 system. Ships appearing, from nowhere. Stopping the fighting, then disappearing again." "What kind of ships?" Kixtal asked. "Unknown design. They're not in any of our databases." In the Nexus 7 system, Captain Bae Jin-woo watched as his small fleet positioned itself between the warring armies. The Krillian hive had brought 50 massive battleships. The Zephyrians had responded with 40 of their fastest cruisers. Both sides were ready to fight the first major space battle in 500 years. "This is Captain Bae Jin-woo of the Terran Commonwealth," he broadcast to both fleets. "You will cease hostilities immediately." The Krillian commander responded. "First." His voice sounded like grinding metal. "Unknown vessels. Identify yourselves or be destroyed. This is a hive military operation." "Terran Commonwealth?" the Zephyrian admiral asked. "That's not possible. Earth is quarantined." Bae Jin-woo activated his ship's new systems. Suddenly, his 20 vessels became visible to both fleets. But they didn't look like the human ships anyone remembered. These were sleek, dark, and obviously far more advanced than anything either side possessed. "The quarantine is over," Bae Jin-woo announced. "Both fleets will power down weapons and prepare for boarding. We're here to mediate this dispute." "Humans!" the Krillian commander snarled. "You were exiled. You have no authority here." "We have the authority of strength," Bei Jinwu replied calmly. "And unlike your weapons, ours are designed to stop fights, not start them." To prove his point, he ordered his weapons officer to fire at the largest Krillian battleship. The energy beam struck the vessel, and all its systems immediately shut down. The massive ship became a harmless metal box floating in space. Both fleets stared in shock. The human weapon had disabled the most powerful ship in the system without killing anyone aboard. "That was your warning," Bei Jinwu said. "The next shot disables your entire fleet. Choose wisely." Within an hour, representatives from both sides were aboard Bei Jinwu's flagship. The Krillian commander was a huge insect-like being with 4 arms and multiple eyes. The Zephyrian admiral was smaller but had the sharp, intelligent look of his species. "You cannot interfere with legitimate hive expansion," the Krillian buzzed. "This system belongs to the Zephyrian Trade Federation," the admiral replied. The hive broke interstellar law by invading. Bei Jinwu listened to both sides argue for an hour. Finally, he held up his hand for silence. "Here's what's going to happen. The hive needs this system for security reasons, correct?" "The trade. Routes through here are vital to hive colony defense," the commander admitted. "And the Zephyrians need the mining income from this system's asteroids." "Those mines feed 12 billion of my people," the admiral said. "Then you'll share. Hive ships can patrol the trade routes. Zephyrian companies can mine the asteroids. Both species benefit, and both provide something the other needs." The Krillian commander's multiple eyes blinked. "Humans always suggest sharing." "Because sharing works," Bei Jinwu replied. "Competition destroys. Cooperation builds." While this negotiation continued, other human ships were appearing throughout the galaxy. They didn't attack Council forces or claim territory. Instead, they appeared wherever there was trouble and worked to solve it. On the Altarian homeworld, Commander Oh Mi-young met secretly with resistance leaders. These were Altarians who had opposed the human exile from the beginning. "How many of your people feel this way?" she asked. "More every day," replied the blue-skinned leader. "The Council promised that exiling humans would bring stability. Instead, we have chaos, economic collapse, and war. Are you ready to act?" "We've been ready for years. Just tell us what you need." Similar meetings were happening on dozens of worlds. Park Tae-sung's intelligence network had identified resistance groups in nearly every Council species. Younger aliens especially were angry with their leader's decision to exile humanity. In the Council chambers, High Consul Kixtal faced the worst crisis of his career. Half the Council members were demanding military action against the mysterious human ships. The other half were quietly suggesting it might be time to negotiate. "They broke our quarantine," shouted the Manthari delegate. "This is an invasion." "Is it?" asked the young Altarian representative. "They're not conquering planets or claiming territory. They're stopping wars and helping refugees. It doesn't matter what they're doing. They violated our authority." Trade Minister Vexmore looked exhausted. "What authority? 3 more species withdrew from the Council yesterday. The Outer Rim colonies are forming their own defense pacts. Our trade income has dropped 80%. What exactly are we protecting on?" Earth, Admiral Lee Junki watched reports from across the galaxy. Human ships had prevented 4 different wars in just 2 weeks. More importantly, public opinion was shifting in humanity's favor. "The resistance movements are growing," Commander Song Hee-rim reported. 41 species now have active groups calling for our return." "What about the Council leadership? Kixtal and Vexmore are losing support fast. Even their own species are questioning their decisions." Dr. Park So-young entered with the latest intelligence. "The Etherians have announced their alliance with us publicly. That's caused quite a stir. Many species didn't even know the Etherians existed." "How are the Council leaders reacting?" "Panic. The Etherians have defensive technology that makes them nearly impossible to attack. Their support makes us much stronger, diplomatically. Captain Kim Dae-ho was coordinating the fleet operations from his command ship. Our stealth vessels have mapped all Council military positions. If they try to attack our bases, we'll know hours before they arrive. Do you think they'll try? Admiral Lee asked. Kik's tail might. He's desperate to prove he's still in control. But most of their military commanders are smart enough to realize they can't win. Across the galaxy, the tide was turning. Human ships continued their peacekeeping work. Every successful mediation made the Council look weaker and more irrelevant. Every species that joined the growing resistance movement made it harder for the Council to claim legitimate authority. The most important moment came when the Etherians released a public statement to all galactic media. The Council's exile of humanity was not just wrong, it was destructive to galactic civilization. We call on all species to demand the immediate restoration of human rights and the formation of a new, more democratic galactic government. Within days, mass protests began on dozens of worlds. The protesters weren't calling for the Council to let humans back in. They were calling for the Council to be replaced entirely. High Consul Kixtal stared at the reports of protests across Veltharian space. His own people were marching in the streets, demanding his resignation. Trade Minister Vexmore faced the same problem. The exile of Earth had been meant to preserve their power. Instead, it was destroying everything they had built. And now humanity was back, stronger than ever, offering a better way forward. The biggest mistake in galactic history was about to reach its final chapter. Prime Minister John Woo-sung stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship, the New Dawn. Through the great window, he could see representatives from over 80 different species waiting to hear his words. This was not the old council chamber, where humans had once begged for acceptance. This was a new space station, built jointly by humans and their allies, where all species were truly equal. "Are you ready, sir?" asked Ko Yun-ji, the head of Earth's new Galactic Relations Department. She held a tablet with the names of every species that had joined what they now called the Terran Commonwealth. "As ready as anyone can be to change galactic history," John Woo-sung replied. Behind him, Captain Kim Dae-ho smiled. The old warrior had lived through humanity's darkest hour and now stood witness to their greatest triumph. 5 years ago, they called us too dangerous for civilization. Today, they're asking us to lead it. The communication channel opened, and John Woo-sung's voice reached every corner of the galaxy. "My friends, we gathered today not to celebrate victory over our enemies, but to welcome former enemies as friends. The old Galactic Council is dead. Today, the Terran Commonwealth is born." On the former Council homeworld, High Consul Kixtal sat alone in his empty office. Through his window, he could see Veltharian protesters celebrating in the streets. His own government had voted him out of power just yesterday. Trade Minister Vexmore had suffered the same fate on the Zephyrian homeworld. A young Veltharian entered his office. "Sir, there's a message for you from the Commonwealth." Kixtal expected demands for surrender, maybe even threats. Instead, the message was an invitation to join the new government as a junior partner. The humans were offering him and his people a place in their new system despite everything that had happened. "They're not seeking revenge," he whispered to himself. For the first time in years, Kixtal felt something he had almost forgotten: hope. In the Commonwealth Assembly, Dr. Park So-young addressed the gathered representatives. The old system divided species into levels. Some were considered better than others. Some had more rights than others. In the Commonwealth, there is only one level: citizen. Every species, every world, every individual has an equal voice. A Manthari delegate raised one of her 4 arms. "What about military protection?" The old council promised security but failed to provide it. Admiral Lee Jun-ki answered. The Commonwealth Defense Force will protect all member worlds, but unlike the old system, every species can contribute according to their abilities. Menthari are excellent engineers. Altarians are skilled doctors. Zephyrians understand trade better than anyone. Together, we're stronger than any of us could be alone. The Etherian representative, Wise Singer of Dawn, spoke next. For centuries, my people avoided the galaxy because we saw only competition and conflict. Humans have shown us a different way, a way of cooperation and mutual respect. Ko Yunji stood up with her tablet. I'm happy to report that 73 species have already signed the Commonwealth Charter. 12 more are in final negotiations. Even some former council leaders have requested to join. What about those who refuse? Asked a Korani delegate. They remain free to govern themselves, John Woo-sung replied. But they cannot attack Commonwealth members, and they cannot stop others from joining us if that's what they choose. On the Krillian homeworld, the Hive Queen faced a difficult decision. Her military advisors told her that fighting the Commonwealth would be suicide. Her economic advisors told her that staying outside it would mean poverty. Her youngest advisors told her something else entirely. The humans defeated us without killing anyone, one young Krillian officer reported. They disabled our ships, then offered medical aid to our crews. They treated us with more respect than we showed them. The Hive Queen considered this. The Krillians had always believed that strength meant the ability to destroy enemies, but humans had shown a different kind of strength, the ability to turn enemies into friends. Send a message to the Commonwealth, she decided. The Hive requests, membership negotiations. In the months that followed, the galaxy transformed more completely than anyone had imagined. The Commonwealth grew rapidly as species after species chose cooperation over isolation. Trade routes that had been dangerous for years became safe again under Commonwealth protection. Scientific research accelerated as species shared knowledge freely. Most importantly, conflicts that might have become wars were solved through Commonwealth mediation. Captain Bei Jin-woo found himself busier than ever, but in a good way. Instead of preparing for battles, he was helping build infrastructure. His ships escorted trade convoys, explored new systems, and provided disaster relief when planets faced natural emergencies. It's strange, he told his crew one day. We built these ships for war, but we use them mostly for helping people. Maybe that's the point, his communications officer replied. The best weapons are the ones you never have to fire. Dr. Choi Min-ho's quantum technology revolutionized galactic transportation. Travel times that used to take weeks now took days. Information that used to take months to cross the galaxy now moved in hours. The Commonwealth was more connected than any civilization in galactic history. Commander Song Hya-rim disbanded her resistance networks, but many former resistance members became Commonwealth diplomats and administrators. They understood better than anyone how to bring different species together. On Earth, children learned about the exile in their history classes, but they didn't learn it as a story of persecution. They learned it as a story of growth, of how humanity became stronger and wiser through adversity. Park Tae-sung, now head of Commonwealth Intelligence, rarely needed to spy on anyone anymore. When problems arose between species, they came to the Commonwealth for help instead of plotting in secret. Dr. Lim Hae-jin continued developing new technologies, but her focus had shifted. Instead of weapons, she worked on tools for exploration, medicine, and environmental restoration. Her greatest achievement was a device that could clean up polluted worlds in just a few years. High Consul Kikstal, now serving as a junior administrator in the Commonwealth, often met with other former council leaders. They had formed an informal support group for politicians learning to work in a democratic system. Do you ever regret it? Trade Minister Vexmore asked one day. Exiling the humans. Kikstal thought carefully before answering. I regret the pain we caused. I regret the years of chaos and conflict. But if we hadn't exiled them, they might never have become what they are today. and we might never have learned what we were missing. Captain Kim Dae-ho, now an elder statesman of the Commonwealth, often spoke to young officers from many different species. The council tried to contain human potential, he would tell them. They thought putting us in a box would solve their problems. Instead, it taught us to think outside every box that exists. Han Yu-jin, now a full admiral, commanded mixed crews with humans working alongside Altarians, Zephyrians, Manthari, and dozens of other species. My grandmother told me about the old days when each species kept to themselves, he said. I can't imagine living that way. The Commonwealth continued to grow. New species were discovered and welcomed. Old conflicts were resolved. Trade flourished. Science advanced. Art and culture from hundreds of worlds mixed and evolved into something beautiful and new. Dr. Park So-young, now in her 70s, often walked through the Commonwealth Capital Station. She watched human children playing with alien friends, saw mixed crews working together on starships, and observed scientific conferences where 100 different species shared their knowledge freely. They called us too dangerous for civilization, she said to herself. They were right, but not in the way they thought. We were dangerous to their old, broken way of doing things, and that's exactly what the galaxy needed. The exile of Earth had been intended to preserve the status quo. Instead, it had created something entirely new and infinitely better. The galaxy had learned the hard way that trying to contain humanity was indeed a big mistake. The biggest mistake in galactic history had become the greatest gift the universe had ever received.